I still remember the sound of the heart monitor beeping in my hospital room. Each beep, a reminder that I was alive, yes, but also helpless. Lying in that bed after the accident, broken bones and bruised pride, I kept telling myself I'd bounce back, that it was just temporary, that my life would be waiting for me when I returned. But I was wrong. When I left for the hospital, I was the managing partner of our family business, the same business my father built from the ground up. He used to say, "David, this place is more than just bricks and sales. It's our name. It's who we are." I took that seriously. I worked late nights. I handled the clients, the finances, the logistics. And my younger brother, Kevin, he was always more carefree. He'd show up late, flirt with the interns, and leave early with excuses. But he was my brother. And when I got into that car accident, I trusted him to hold things down. I didn't even think twice. I still remember the day I got the call. 3 cracked ribs, concussion, fractured leg. I couldn't move. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even sit up on my own. But I kept checking in. Emails, calls, texts. Trying to stay involved from the hospital bed. Trying to trust Kevin. At first he played the role. He'd send me updates, assure me that things were running fine. But then, the emails stopped. The calls became brief, and the tone, it changed. He started sounding like a man in charge, like someone who'd been waiting for this moment. At first, I told myself not to worry. I thought, he's just overwhelmed. It's a lot to handle. He'll come around. But the signs were there. Subtle, clever, intentional. The company email password had changed. I asked Kevin. He said it was a security measure. Except no one else had been locked out. Just me. Our lead accountant, Susan, stopped replying to my messages. She and I had worked together for 10 years. Now, nothing. Then I noticed that the company's website had changed. Our mission statement was rewritten, my name gone from the About Us page. I was still in recovery, barely able to sit up, but I felt my pulse racing, not from pain, but from betrayal. I asked my assistant to send me some internal reports, just so I could stay in the loop. She hesitated. That was my first real alarm bell. She always respected me, trusted me. Now, she sounded afraid, nervous. Kevin's making some changes, she finally said. He's restructuring things. He says you might not be coming back for a while, and he wants stability. Stability. It was a convenient word, a pretty mask over a hostile takeover. I was still CEO on paper, still the eldest son, still the one who built the business alongside my father. But somehow, I was being erased. And Kevin wasn't just holding down the fort, he was remodeling it, turning it into his kingdom while I was trapped in a hospital bed. A few days later, my doctor cleared me for light physical activity. I still wasn't ready to go back to work full-time. But I had to see the office. I showed up unannounced. No warning, no heads up. I wanted to catch everything raw. When I walked in, people looked surprised, uncomfortable. Some even avoided eye contact. Kevin came out of the main office with a forced smile. "David, what a surprise," he said. too cheerfully. "You should be resting. You really shouldn't be here right now." I looked around. The office I had designed with my father was no longer ours. Our family portraits were gone. New branding on the walls. Even the receptionist desk had a plaque. Executive Director, Kevin Brooks. My name was nowhere. I kept my tone calm. "Kevin, I just came to pick up a few personal things. Thought I'd check on things firsthand." He nodded, but I could see it. The panic in his eyes. He didn't expect me to be standing again, let alone walking through the very doors he was slowly locking behind me. I walked past him into my old office. It was rearranged. New furniture, different layout. My photos and degrees, gone. On the desk, a folder sat open. Kevin's handwriting. Internal restructuring plan. Job titles reassigned. Leadership team adjusted. And at the bottom, my role. Position pending reassignment. Subject to board approval. Subject to board approval. The board my father and I put together. The very people who once toasted to my leadership. Something was seriously wrong. I left without saying much. But inside, my blood boiled. This wasn't just temporary delegation. This was a coup. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept going over everything I'd seen. The new layout, the missing photos, the rewritten org chart. I tried to piece it all together, but the same thought kept coming back. When did Kevin start planning this? This wasn't spontaneous. This was premeditated. I started replaying memories, old conversations, subtle digs I had brushed off for years, like the time he joked at a dinner party. "Must be nice being the chosen one, huh, David?" I had laughed, thinking it was harmless. Or the way he always called my dad Sir, even after being in the business for over a decade. Not out of respect, but distance. Kevin was never part of the family, not really. He was always an outsider, watching, waiting, calculating, and I had let him in. I thought I was giving him an opportunity, a role, a chance to grow with us. Instead, I was grooming my own replacement. The signs had been there, like how he always stayed late, how he'd volunteer to handle meetings I was too busy for, how he'd downplay my contributions subtly, in front of staff, even in front of clients. At the time, I chalked it up to stress. Now, I saw it clearly. Kevin wasn't supporting me. He was studying me, learning how I led, how I made decisions, where I kept files, who I trusted, what I prioritized. And when I was at my weakest, he struck. The next morning, I called a family meeting. I needed answers, not just from Kevin, but from my parents, my own blood. We sat in the same conference room we'd used for years, the same oak table, the same framed picture of my grandfather overseeing us. But this time, it felt cold, sterile, like I was the outsider. My mother offered a soft smile, one that didn't reach her eyes. My father, stern and unreadable, just nodded. And Kevin? He sat at the far end of the table, confident, comfortable, like he belonged there. "What's going on?" I asked. Why was my name removed from the leadership files? Why are my responsibilities being reassigned behind my back? There was silence. Then Kevin spoke, his voice syrupy smooth. "We didn't know when or if you'd return, David. The company had to move forward. I just did what needed to be done. I turned to my father. And you agreed with this? He shifted in his seat. Kevin stepped up when we needed him to, he said. We couldn't just sit idle while you were gone. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. So that's it? I'm just out? My mother finally spoke. You're not out, David. You're transitioning. We thought you'd appreciate less pressure after everything. Less pressure? They had stripped me of everything. My role, my authority, my place in the family, and wrapped it in the language of compassion. It was betrayal. Soft-spoken, well-packaged, but betrayal nonetheless. That was the moment I realized. This wasn't just Kevin's doing, it was all of them. After that meeting, I sat in my car for nearly an hour, just thinking. Everything I had built, everything I had protected, was now being used to push me out. But I wasn't going to let it happen. I might have been caught off guard, but I wasn't weak. I started by reviewing the company bylaws. Back when Grandpa was alive, he made sure to protect every partner's equity rights. Guess what? Kevin couldn't legally remove me, not without a board vote. And that vote had never happened. So I called a lawyer, a good one. I also began meeting with senior staff privately, people I had worked alongside for years. Some were clearly scared, some were confused, but a few, a precious few, were still loyal. They'd seen Kevin's tactics. They had noticed the manipulation, the pressure, the sudden changes in company culture, and most of all, they missed the leadership I brought. Not just the numbers, the integrity, the vision. I wasn't just fighting for my job anymore. I was fighting for the soul of the company, the one Grandpa built, the one I helped grow. And even if my own family had turned their backs, I wasn't going anywhere. The first official move I made wasn't loud. No email blasts, no confrontations, just a certified letter, hand-delivered to the board and to Kevin. It outlined the bylaws, cited the missing vote, and requested a formal review of Kevin's recent changes to the company's structure. It was precise, legal, undeniable. Kevin didn't respond right away. Of course he didn't. But the pressure was there now, and while I waited for the board to schedule a meeting, I focused on reclaiming my reputation from within. I met with clients personally, those who had worked with me for years. I apologized for my absence. I explained that I was recovering, but never disconnected. I also showed them projections, plans I had been working on during recovery. Some of them were skeptical at first, but when they saw the fire in my eyes, they believed again. Meanwhile, Kevin was scrambling. He started hosting weekly transparency meetings, claiming everything was business as usual. But people could tell he was reacting to something big. And then the day came. The board called for a formal review. I was allowed to present first. I stood there, in front of men and women I had known for most of my life, and I told the truth. Not with emotion, not with theatrics, with facts, with documents, with timelines. Kevin went second. And let's just say, he didn't handle it well. He deflected. He blamed. He lied. Provably so. And the room knew it. When I left that meeting, I didn't know the outcome yet, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was standing on solid ground again. The board's decision came 2 days later. A unanimous vote. Kevin was removed as interim CEO. No appeals, no second chances. They cited breach of trust, manipulation of internal protocols, and failure to notify stakeholders. It wasn't just a slap on the wrist. They froze his access, stripped his voting rights. He was out, completely. But it didn't stop there. Turns out, while trying to cover his tracks, Kevin left a paper trail. Emails to vendors promising deals that were never authorized. Misusing company funds for branding campaigns that funneled back to his own side projects. HR started getting anonymous tips, old employees who had left suddenly. Turns out Kevin had quietly pushed them out to replace them with loyal hires. The company launched an internal investigation, and legal got involved. He wasn't just unethical, he was reckless. Meanwhile, I was offered my position back, not just in title, but in full authority. I took a week to decide, because I didn't just want to return. I wanted to rebuild on my terms. I returned to the office on a Monday morning. Same building, same corner desk. But everything felt different. People actually smiled. Meetings didn't feel like battlegrounds anymore. The air was lighter, no tension, just purpose. I made some changes, brought back the old team, started mentoring the junior staff Kevin had ignored. We rebuilt not just our brand, but our culture. As for Kevin, last I heard, he moved to another city, tried to start something new. But word travels fast. Trust, once broken, is hard to buy back. He sent me an email once. Just one line. I was wrong. I see that now. I didn't reply. Not out of anger. Just peace. Because I realized revenge wasn't justice. Truth was. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is quietly reclaim what's yours and do it better than ever before. That's exactly what I did.